My name is Nathan from
NUC Animations. Yeah, remember that old catchphrase? Anyways, today we're going to talk about Character Alphabet Action. So as we all know, Character Alphabet Action was a spin-off of Character Alphabet Elimination. The catch is, however, all the movies are based on films. All that sounds like a fairly original concept. Or does it? So today, we are going to talk about how Character Alphabet Action really came to be. But before we start, you should watch the entirety of the original show because of course there are spoilers. If you don't want to get spoiled, I really suggest you don't watch this. Anyways, let's dive in. So for those of you that don't know, Character Alphabet Action wasn't originally something original. It was based on an old short-lived TV show or a competition camp or something from the 70s. If you want proof, then just hear what the announcer says in the finale.
There was a Character Alphabet Action 50 years ago. However, the game was said to be cursed, as all the contestants died one by one in this show. And it's also said that snapping your fingers in this show was also cursed, as the last two finalists were both killed after snapping their fingers to defend themselves from an evil force.
So yeah, that's kind of self-explanatory. But if you want more proof, then of course there's the scene in episode 13 where Aviva, Ash, and Amy Rose talk to this old-timer. Special thanks to Clever Colo for voicing him BTW. Of course, he looks like a simple old-timer, but then... Don't you see we're competing in Character Alphabet Action? So yeah, basically when anyone mentions Character Alphabet Action around this old-timer, he basically blue screens for a bit and has a creepypasta-esque traumatization moment of how the show negatively affected him. For anyone that can handle this scene, like the mind erase scene from Flash Gordon, he then goes completely insane and then out of nowhere announces that this is the last contest and throws Amy and Ash across the room, alluding that he was the host of the show. So if you can see where I'm going with this, a wildlife scientist, a Pokemon trainer, and a pink hedgehog talked to the original host of the show. And of course, the show had a big impact in his life. So let's see how this original show went. So in the old-timer's flashback, we can see this dude. This is actually supposed to be the old-timer when he was younger, in his early 20s maybe. And yeah, he was of course inspired by Chris McLean from Total Drama. Not only that, for a very brief moment, you can see what are supposed to be the contestants that competed in the show. And they are obviously supposed to look like parodies of what would eventually become the characters we know and love. And yeah, it's also unclear whether or not Ash and Abigail were debuters or from the start. But as his flashback continues, we get split-second shots of how each of the contestants met their demise one by one. Before we go through each of them, you may be wondering, if this is where the 70s where this is happening, then all of those films they did were not out yet at the time, well, except for one. Those are, of course, coincidences, and we will get to all of those now. So, in the first image, we can see this dude being attacked by an alien that looks like a xenomorph from the Alien movies. As you can already tell, episode 1 was based on Alien, the first one from 1979. And the guy is based off Apu from The Simpsons, who also gets eliminated first. Well, to this day, there is no official proof that aliens or extraterrestrial life in general exists, but they have been a common theme in modern science fiction and appeared in lots of pop culture media. In fact, one of the earliest known of fiction featuring aliens was A True Story, a novel written back in the 2nd century AD, literally full centuries before Alien was a thing. So yeah, during the 70s, aliens were common parodies in real life. But anyways, during the challenge, we clearly see Apu get knocked off the ship by the alien.
Uh-oh. Want a squishy?
But then this time, he gets completely mauled and killed. By the way, since this is the 70s, the recovery centers weren't a thing yet, so they are unable to bring him back. Of course, recovery centers don't exist in real life, but you know. Anyways, in the second image, we see someone falling off an airplane. This one is based off, you guessed it, Airplane from 1980. And the person falling is supposed to look like Ami from Hi Hi Puffy Ami Yumi. I don't need to go into too much detail about this one because airplanes in general start with A, and airplane travel is common for a long time. Thanks, Wright brothers. Anyways, in this timeline, the Ami look like is in charge of flying the plane, until she gets distracted by something. But this time, it's not the Beach Blanket Bingo from SpongeBob's 20th birthday special, but I'd like to think it's something else that could catch Ami's attention. You try to figure it out yourself in the comments. Whatever it is, the Ami lookalike goes ballistic and flies out of control, leading to one of the contestants taking over and flying to their destination. But not before she gets punched out of the plane. But this time, not only does she not get what she wants, But seriously, how was she able to survive that fall in the new version? Answer, because she's just a cartoon character. Based on a real-life J-pop musician. Anyways, next up there's this image of someone being killed by someone in Agrabah. Obviously, since this is Agrabah, episode 3 is based on Disney's Aladdin. But you may be wondering, Agrabah is a fictional city in the movie. Well, the city is based on composite cities in India and the Middle East in general, especially with the Sultan's palace resembling the Taj Mahal. So when the movie took place, it took place in medieval Mid-Eastern times, despite being a fictional city in an inconsistent time period. Also, another thing to note is that Aladdin was based on a story from 1001 Nights, a collection of Middle Eastern folktales compiled in the Arabic language during the Islamic Golden Age. So yeah, all I gotta say is, since it takes place in my universe, Agrabah is a real city in this area. So yeah, with that out of the way, the contestant who was killed here is a lookalike of Akuma from the Street Fighter games. Of course, we know that in the new version, Akuma barged in and asked the Sultan to be Prince.
Make us Prince! Sorry, you're not allowed to.
But then he tried beating him up. Of course, the lookalike would obviously be convicted of battery on a prince, but thankfully not regicide, and would of course be executed. Moving on. In the next image, we can see the Amy Rose lookalike being attacked by a freaking tiger. Episode 4 was based on the war movie Apocalypse Now. There was one scene where someone got attacked by a tiger in the actual movie. Should of course be obvious, except this is the 70s we're talking about. In the episode, the contestants had to invade Afghanistan after a terrorist, actually Alejandro from Total Drama, sent a death threat to the hosts. Back in the 70s, Afghanistan was actually a pretty neutral country. It wasn't until the century was ending when this country got dominated by extensive warfare, and the Taliban wouldn't get control of the country until 1996. So yeah, were they just bombing an innocent country at the time for no reason? Or was it a different country that starts with A? Or was it just Vietnam, like in the movie? Who knows? For now, let's move on to the next picture. Here we can see a look-alike of Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender being suffocated and dying in space. Episode 5 was based on Alien's even better sequel, Aliens. So in the contest, the contestants had to defeat more than one alien and save Angela and her group of annoying friends in the process, leading to an awesome Pokemon and fusion badass fight. But here we can clearly see that they were on the ship, when in the modern contest it took place in the film studio and outside it. Either the contest in the 70s took place in the ship, or the aliens already grabbed Aang and took him back to the ship, just so he can be thrown out the airlock. Hey, airlock starts with A too. Anyway, it can be either one of those options. In the next episode, there's the Angelica Pickles lookalike being attacked by anthropomorphic ace cards. Yep, that's right, episode 6 is based on Disney's Alice in Wonderland. This movie is actually the only one to be released before the original one was happening. Not just the Disney one, which was released back in 1951, but there were also other adaptations of Alice in Wonderland before the Disney one. Even before the Disney one, Disney has done a series of short cartoons based on the books, which was actually a live-action animation hybrid about a live-action girl and her wacky adventures in Wonderland. Heck, there was even going to be a film based on that same concept, but that was scrapped in favor of Snow White being Disney's first animated film. Anyways, back onto the episode. I'm sure Angelica was unable to escape the ace cards after one of the contestants insulted the queen.
Oh wait, I forgot to tell you that your boots are too short.
But also in the modern one, Angelica was being a weirdo most of the time.
Look at me, I'm a kaiju! Roar!
So yeah, this time Angelica was unable to escape the ace cards, but also in the modern version, it was actually a dream after the avant-gardes got drugged on some apricots. Not only that, the hosts didn't know their dream was based on Alice in Wonderland, and instead did a simple concept about looking for an ace card, claiming that it's based on Ace Ventura.
Wait a second, I've seen that movie. I don't remember a scene about someone finding an ace card, and I'm pretty sure the movie is about a pet detective, not an ace card.
They would eventually do that movie later though, but we'll get to that soon. So yeah, it can be kind of confusing because of its continuity, but hey, it is a show made by me. There's no logic here. Up next, we can see the skeleton on the toilet after what looks like an atomic explosion. In this episode, which was based on Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery, we see Aladdin taking a dump.
Okay, hold on. I gotta go to the bathroom. Hold on.
And the avant-gardes were unable to escape in time before a big explosion destroys Ace's lair.
Have a nice day.
Mother.
So the skeleton is supposed to be Aladdin, and of course in the older version he does not survive the explosion. But in the new version, not only did Aladdin get affected, but also the avant-gardes were in the building as well. So since there would be no way they would survive the explosion, it's likely they just left Aladdin behind and ditched him while he was taking a dump in the original. And that's pretty much it. Moving on. Next is episode 8, based on James Cameron's Avatar. In this image, we can see an Arnold Shortman look-alike as an aardvark being tossed off a cliff. This one is kind of straightforward. In the new version, in a reference to the Paramount Plus ad, Amethyst tries throwing Arnold into Adamant's truck, but he misses and plunges into a cliff. Pretty much the same thing as death. There is just one problem. The episode takes place in a simulation, just like in the movie, though when you get hurt and die, you still feel them. So in the 70s, virtual reality wasn't a common thing. Back then, VR was used for medical, flight simulation, automobile industry design, and military training purposes. It wasn't until the 90s until VR became common of sorts. So yeah, whoever made that headset must have been a genius or something. Maybe either that or I'm just bad at research. Okay, moving on. The next image is another straightforward one, though it didn't happen in the episode itself. The Ashley from WarioWare lookalike is lying down in a news set. This episode was based on Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. So the lookalike of Ashley ends up suffering a heart attack while doing the news because of stage fright and ends up dying in the process. Of course, the real Ashley didn't do much in the contest, but again, we'll get to why I would do that later. The next image shows an aardvark with glasses, is that so familiar? Get trampled by an anchovy stampede. Now you might find that it could not reference anything, but episode 10 was based on Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, for real this time, where similar to the dolphin mascot getting kidnapped, Amos Slade kidnaps all the anchovies. But when they're freed, you can guess what happens next. Now, no one got trampled by this stampede in the modern version, but earlier, Adam did get trampled by a similar stampede. Alva Viva's animal crew for this episode. I guess someone wasn't being careful here. In the semi-final episode, there's a lookalike of Codename Kids Next Door's Abigail Lincoln, or number 5, falling off the Arc de Triomphe while painting it. In this episode, which was based on the 2001 French film Amélie, Angela, Adam's sister from Library Kids, takes over the show and assigns the contestants to redesign France's famous Arc de Triomphe, which ends up becoming girly. Now, in one scene, there was Amethyst falling off the Arc de Triomphe right on Adam, which was based on that concept. Now, again, it's such a mystery as to how Amethyst survived that, and so did Adam upon impact. But, of course, Abigail Lincoln fell off, even though she did beat a bunch of innocent girls at Angela's Rainbow Monkey Party. I guess everyone had to suffer for this party in the original version. And finally, there's this image where the Anne Boonchoy lookalike gets crushed by a stage light. That did not happen in the episode itself, which was based on the 1984 film Amadeus, with Amethyst in place of the famous composer. Anne was in the audience, so she wasn't really killed. Maybe Anne was performing the accordion performance instead of Amethyst, but she wouldn't be up for elimination if that was the case. So maybe she was walking up for advice, but the stage light fell on her before she was able to do so. Ouch. Actually, Anne Boonchoy was previously crushed by a boulder by Alameda Slim, so maybe someone evil must have caused this. Anyways, that was all the pictures. But before we get to what really shines, those contestants were all in elimination order. That's coincidentally why they were all killed, even though some instances didn't happen in the modern version. But even after all that, the flashback still goes on. Near the end of the flashback, we see a giant blob that is supposed to be the lookalikes of Amethyst from Steven Universe, Ash from Pokemon, Adam from Library Kids, or Aviva from Wild Kratts. Could be any of those four. Amy Rose was already killed, so she doesn't rejoin. Anyways, with the giant blob, episode 13 was based on the 1988 anime film Akira. But this time, unlike the recent version where Amethyst helped Adam out by calming him down, the bomb explodes, killing him along with the other one in the explosion, leaving it all down to 2. And finally, the second last thing before the flashback is the 2 finalists getting encountered by a giant crowd, which in the newer version was Anti-Cosmo and his gang of anti-fairies and infected characters. When they realize they have no escape, they decide to snap their fingers and defeat the evil. It's unclear what this evil is in the old version, but still. But after this evil is defeated, they witness side effects where their heart stops. When the 2 realize they are about to die, they accept that, and they pass away slowly. After that, the host finds out about that, and at the funeral, the host cries not just because he lost all his contestants, but he realizes his show was a bad idea from the start, and he made a huge mistake that his show was broadcast live. So now he can't see his face on the earth ever again, so he retreats all the way to Ahmedabad, India, and tries to forget about all that. Until Aviva, Amy, and Ash showed up, of course. So yeah, again, the contestants that died were all in elimination order. So the contestants that were eliminated were basically walking in the same footsteps as the contestants from the past. Like, all 16 of them were fulfilling an unintentional prophecy. Like, they were mimicking everything they did up to when they were killed. Wow. So yeah, that sums up the old man's backstory and its effect on the modern CAA. But there is probably someone who knows about the prophecy, like, before all that happened. Well, guess what? There actually are. One of them is a contestant, and one of them is an intern. First of all, this film studio wasn't there before. If there was a film studio before, then everyone would have found out about it by now, as there are some characters from the future seasons that occasionally break in and cause interruptions. Notably Helga in episode 3. So, I think the contestant that figured it all out was Aviva. So somehow Aviva was able to find about CAA's legend and decided to do an identical game show and televisit so she can get more attention than she can. It's because Aviva is an attention idiot in my show. So Aviva decided to build up a giant film studio in the arcade park, wanting to retrace the steps of the old version exactly. So after it was finished, she told Arthur about the film studio, but not her plan, of course. And when she realizes everyone is here to do the show, she builds her speaker boxes when the show starts. It's just because after she tells about the fact that she did get the whole character off with action show with no one dying, she'd get more attention than any of the other arcaders and the amusement parkers. She obviously, of course, didn't realize that the old man she talked to was the host of the original version.
I'm not sure how much more of this I can handle.
But there was one other person that secretly knew the plan, and that's Asha from Wish. When she became an intern, she was of course outraged about that.
Oh, seriously? Why do I have to be an intern? I helped celebrate Disney's 100th anniversary, even making an appearance in Once Upon a Studio before my movie was released.
And of course, as those speaker boxes were made by Aviva, she realizes something fishy going on. That's why she's absent for most of the whole season until the finale. But did you also know that Asha is going to be a cameraman for the Patriotic Bros Die Group's alphabet character elimination? So basically she films the whole show, probably when the airplane contest was going on, and she takes notes along the way, realizing what may be a fishy plot. Eventually she figures out about the lore prior to when the announcer announced what really happened in the old one, and when she figured out about how the finalists died, and then when the contestants were about to be killed by the mob, she decided to accept that sacrifice and die, especially as she was the last intern remaining anyway. And that is good, because Asha exposing Aviva as she was just being an attention moron would make her more famous than her. But it's a good thing my favorite WK character would do all that. But anyways, that was pretty much everything for this video. So what do you think of this explanation? Did it all come together? Or is there something I forgot or some plot holes when you rewatch this whole show from start to finish? It's only like 3 hours and 40 minutes in total. But yeah, I'll be working on some other stuff. Like, I think I'm gonna start season B of C.A.A. now. And believe me, this one will be even more crazier than the last one. Or maybe some other stuff that are related to C.A.A. in general. And let's also hope season Q gets finished, because for goodness sake, I really want my season Q of the original show. But anyways, just like usual, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching!